Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Arriving at the teleport shrine, Shinyu immediately discovered Qinlan, as she wasn't too hard to pick from the crowd. She had long black hair that was swept to the side, a pair of glasses, and a white lab coat of sorts that was worn over a simple shirt and skirt. If one was to look past her glasses, they would see bags under her eyes which showed her severe lack of sleep due to her gaming habits. Grabbing a pack of cigarettes, she looked up towards Chunyu and gave him a lazy wave. "Yo," she called out with a smile. "MN," rather unkempt as usual. Chunyu frowned. While he wasn't an extreme clean freak, it still bothered him that she couldn't even be bothered to wear her lab coat properly due to the fact that it was hanging slightly to the left. "While I was in the middle of a session. Yawn, so where are the people that you wanted me to look at?" Qinlan yawned before lighting her cigarette up. "Follow me. Just so you know, they're quite young, so it's best if you don't smoke near them. It's rather unpleasant," he reminded. "Sure, whatever." Qinlan shrugged while following behind him. As they approached the hotel, she finished her cigarette and stubbed it on one of the bins outside of the hotel. Showing her to the room, Chunyu led Qinlan inside. "Everyone, I've brought the person I was talking about," Chunyu called out as the party glanced towards Qinlan, who only waved back. "Yo, let's skip the pleasantries since I'm here for a job. Where are the patients?" Qinlan asked while glancing past the girls. Seeing both Ian and Lysandra laying on different couches while sweat dripped off their heads, she could infer that they were the patients. Walking up to them, she pushed her glasses up slightly before creating a tier 4 magic circle and waved it over Yin's body. While this was happening, Lyrica had a concerned expression and looked towards Chunyu, who only shook his head. Despite the woman's rather lazy appearance, she was serious when it came to her job. Interesting. Now this is a contract I haven't seen in years, mind you." Qinlan smiled as she glanced towards Chunyu. "So are you able to help us out then?" he asked. "Well, I'm not too sure. You see, the problem doesn't come from the contract itself, but rather the condition of the person on the other side of this contract. The contract hasn't been tampered with, and if you want to make it so that these two survive, then the best I can do is try to break the contract without killing anyone." Qinlan shrugged as the party frowned. "Arnob, wait a minute. You said that you're not too sure. Does that mean you can do something after all?" Madison asked as she managed to pick up on that small detail. "Yes. You see, I said that the best that I can do is break the contract so that two of them are guaranteed to survive. There is the second option of sharing their vitality, but there is no guarantee. Who knows, if the strain is too big, the two could die instantly." Qinlan shook her head. "Wait, since Ian is a phoenix, does that mean she could revive herself if she died? A phoenix is known for their vitality, so if they shared their vitality, does this mean that both Shiro and Lysandra would be fine?" Sylvia asked. "I'm not exactly familiar with phoenixes, so I can't say for sure. Though what I can say is that reviving oneself must have consequences. Whether that be in the form of completely restarting their life from birth or not, I don't know. To be fair, there's not even a guarantee for them to actually revive after sharing vitality. You need to know that there is an inherent risk in linking them up to each other, even for a short moment." Qinlan warned as the party fell silent once more. "Do it. If there's a chance for Mum to survive, then it's okay." Yin's voice rang out as she barely managed to open her eyes. As a phoenix, she knew that in order to revive herself, she'd need to either be placed within one of the hottest volcanoes and be supplied with an incredible amount of magic, or she could be left to her own devices and be reborn in around 50 years. 20 if she's lucky. You understand that your life would be endangered, right?" Qinlan raised her eyebrow. Seeing Yi nod her head, Qinlan looked towards the party. "If that's what she wants, then I agree with her." Lyrica spoke up. "Same with me. If anything, I might be able to help if I boost her vitality through my healing spells." Sylvia followed up with a smile. With the rest of the party nodding their heads in agreement, Qinlan shrugged her shoulders and prepared to perform this surgery on the contract. Meanwhile, Nentian had finally arrived in Ichisfer with Keiko and Kiyomi. Estrella was still following behind them with a worried look on her face while they entered what seemed to be an apartment that Nentian had prepared beforehand. With tens of healers already in the room, Nentian laid Shiro on the bed while instructing them to start healing her to the best of their abilities. Unfortunately, at this point, Her body had already broken down to a state where the previous medicine had worn off. Even if he tried to give her more healing potions or items of similar nature, they did nothing to aid in her recovery. As the healers started to activate their spells one after another, a green light appeared on Shiro's body. The breakdown of her body started to slow, but it wasn't stopped. Confused and shocked at the state of her body, the healers couldn't help but wonder what the girl did in order to acquire such injuries. Even with the combined might of some of the best healers around, all they could do was slow down the process. Enraged by the situation, Nantion glared towards Estrella with murderous intent. It was due to this spirit that Shiro was on the verge of death. Regardless of her intentions and background, all Nantion wanted to do right now was to rip her head off her body. However, a part of him knew that doing so would not be productive, and the best thing for him to do right now was actually assist the healers by giving Shiro medical supplies to lighten the burden. As they continued to heal her, a seal slowly formed near her heart. Suddenly, her body was enveloped by purple flames with an orb of light near her heart. Her condition started to stabilize but didn't improve. Thankfully, with the combined might of all the healers in the room along with Sylvia, who had her healing amplified by Shiro's tools and Aram's spells, they were able to slowly improve Shiro's body condition. Hours passed as Nantion had people coming from the branch to provide the healers with mana potions and equipment so that they could continue to heal Shiro. After all, they were in a situation that should they stop, Shiro's condition would immediately deteriorate and put her back into the danger zone. Pacing back and forth in worry, Nantion continued to use everything he had in his vaults to help the healers save Shiro. If one had to write down how much he had spent so far, they would realize that it was comparable to what a medium-sized faction would spend in an entire year. Please live. Nantion prayed in his heart earnestly. ####. Feeling as though she was submerged in water, Shiro's mind drifted to her memories and everything she had experienced so far. Her time as Nitri and Arya. Her life as Kuromi, and finally, her life as Shiro. From the best memories to the worst ones, they each took turns as Shiro viewed them all silently. She knew the state of her body, and she knew how much danger she was currently in. She could sense Nantion, Keiko, and Kiyomi's worry in the few moments she was barely conscious and felt grateful. Strangely enough, she could also feel her party along with Ian and Lyssandra's efforts through her mind due to her contract. Within the void, Shiro felt warm as her life was filled with people that cared for her. I should probably wake up now. They're trying their hardest to keep me alive. It would be rude of me to stay in this state. Shiro thought with a soft smile. Unknown to her, a faint figure was smiling at her within the void. Her body was flickering as if it was a candlelight in the wind which could extinguish at any moment, and her hair was camouflaged by the darkness. Opening her mouth, she silently urged Shiro to return. Don't die, lil sis. Amen. Slowly opening her eyes, Shiro saw that she was in an unfamiliar room. Furrowing her brows, she tried to sit up straight, but realized that she barely had any strength right now, and even the simple task of sitting up straight was difficult. Sighing softly, she glanced inside her mana realm and saw that Nimue, Izul, and Adi were safe and asleep. Smiling at the scene, she was glad that her near-death experience did not harm them as she looked to her side. Glancing past the window, she noticed that she was inside an apartment room that was pretty high as she could see the parts of the city despite her posture on the bed. Where am I? She muttered while glancing around the room. There was no one else here except for her. Shaking her head, she glanced towards the system. The last thing she remembered was that she killed the Gorgon using the new element and had extracted something called the entity code. Gorgon entity code extracted. Host exceeded authority level. Error. Element forcefully cancelled. Due to unexpected circumstances and a clear breach of authority, host will receive parts of the Gorgon entity code rather than the Gorgon herself. Benefits from the Gorgon entity code. Eyes of the Gorgon, 10% boost to all stats permanently with INT, receiving 20% rather than 10%. Title received, Miracle Worker. Miracle Worker, defeat an enemy more than 200 levels higher than you with minimal help. Benefits. Enemies higher level than you are now weakened by 20% and will feel an innate fear towards you which may hinder their movements. Whenever you are facing someone higher level than yourself, you will receive a 20% boost to all stats. Due to special circumstances and the change within your contract, you receive the following: Phoenix Bloodline, Angel Bloodline. Phoenix Bloodline. Your fire element receives a significant boost. Your passive healing is greatly enhanced whenever you are near fire, and you are able to revive yourself under specific circumstances. Circumstance A. You are placed within one of the world's hottest volcanoes and supplied with a constant stream of energy. Circumstance B. You passively gather the mana around you, and you can be reborn after 20 to 50 years, depending on how mana-rich the surroundings are. Angel Bloodline. Your light element receives a significant boost, and you're able to passively heal in daylight. Not only that, but your presence also demands respect from those of a religious background. Your magic is enhanced against any one of the dark element, and you can enhance your weapons with holy light. Naturally, there were more notifications, but these were the only ones that really interested her. The rest were basically error reports along with the state of her body. Phoenix Bloodline, Angel Bloodline. Did Ian and Lysandra give me parts of their power? Shiro wondered to herself. Thinking about it for a moment, she sighed and set it aside for now. She'll message the party and ask about what had happened later. It would also be a good chance for her to apologize about her actions. After all, that could have been the end, and their relationship would have been cut off on a sour note. Looking towards her stats, she was shocked to see that her level had jumped up from the 120s to 192 in an instance. Holy sh*t. I know I killed the Gorgon, but it was only because it was severely weakened. Most of the EXP should have gone to the one who weakened it, but despite that, I was still able to level up around 70 times. Shiro thought with disbelief. Obiyo. This meant that with just her assignable points per level, she could increase any stat by an astounding 1.4 million points. This wasn't including her passive growth either. Swallowing her saliva, she started to assign her points while also looking at the skills she had unlocked during her level up. The first thing was naturally the fact that she could now assign someone else to be in her court due to the fact that she had leveled up past the 150 mark. In addition to this, a few of her skills were upgraded. Fey Illusions - Celestial Mirage. Tier 4 Element Magic - Tier 5 Element Magic. Intermediate Elemental Mastery - Advanced Elemental Mastery. Spirit Assistance - Spirit Assistance EX. Fey Illusions, or rather Celestial Mirage, now had its illusion properties enhanced. Unless one had a skill close to Nantion's eyes, they would not be able to see past the illusion. As for the other three, they were pretty self-explanatory. As for the two new skills that she had received, they were Empress Blessing and Shared Burden. Empress Blessing allowed her to enhance her allies' stats for a short while. Depending on who receives the buff, their highest stat will now be increased by 25% while the other stats will be increased by 5%. Shared Burden, on the other hand, allowed the party to spread the damage amongst themselves. If one of them receives a lethal hit, Shiro could choose to dampen the effects through this skill and distribute the damage amongst the party. This would be extremely helpful due to the fact that should Sylvia receive a sneak attack, Shiro could share the damage to Madison, saving Sylvia's life in the process, while Madison's defenses and passive bonuses would negate most of the damage dealt. With these two skills, she could provide the party with much more assistance as a support role. Of course, these did not interfere with her insane damage potential since they could be cast while she was on the move. Name: Shiro. Race: Celestial Fae. Title: Advanced Monster, 312/1000 Humans Killed. Fratricide. Creator of the Frozen Hell series. Incomplete. Creator of Style Azura's Path. Seeker of Truths. Revolutionary. Celestial Empress EX. Miracle Worker. Level: 192. Class: True Celestial Sylph Empress EX. Ascendant Nanomancer EX. HP: 100,000/106, 750,000, Weakened State. MP: 100,000/730,000,000, Weakened State. STR: 1,562,000. VIT: 854,000. INT: 5,840,000. AGI: 1,830,000. Dex: 880,000. Def: 500,000. Total stats after calculating everything. Unassigned points, 1,400,000-0. Attunements. Cosmic Ice, Tier 4. Apocalyptic Lightning, Tier 4. Stygian Steel, Tier 4. Astral Rift, Tier 5, augmented with Calamity's Will. Void Star, Tier 4. Celestial Star, Tier 5. Dark Celestial Phoenix Fire, Tier 5. Boreal Wind, Tier 4. Tectonic Quake, Tier 4. Oceanic Abyss, Tier 4. Nature, Tier 5. Skills. True Celestial Sylph Empress. Elemental Breath, Celestial Mirage, Force of Elements. Celestial Raiment EX, Tier 5 Element Magic. Rift Strider EX, Celestial Empress Domain EX. Monster Skill, Rejuvenation EX. Frenzied Incarnation EX. Advanced Elemental Mastery, Spirit Assistance EX. Celestial Court Appointment, Empress Blessing, Shared Burden. Snowmancer. Nanotech Engineering Tier 4, Analysis. Frozen Hell Series. Frozen Slumber, Azure Hell Fire, Borealis Lance, Frozen Chandelier. Ancient Healing Arts. Fire of Life. Path of Ascendance. Phantom Path, Azure Sword Path, Celestial Path, Berserker Path. Sword Skills. Refraction, Sword Domain, Soul Sword. Other. Minimap, Inspection, Disguise, Combust, Heavenly Constellation, Aurora, Chimera Arts, Celestial Gardens, Hollow Deceit, Hitoma, Celestial Language, Asteria's Blessing, Wrath of Stars, Eyes of the Gorgon. With her HP reaching the 100 million threshold and her MP shooting past the 700 million point, Shiro couldn't help but shake her head. Damn, my stats are becoming more and more monstrous. I haven't even fully worked on my monster title either. If I did. Feeling a slight amount of pity for her enemies, Shiro tried to force herself to sit up once more. Seeing as though she was weakened right now, it didn't come as a surprise that she would struggle so much. After a few minutes of hard work, she finally managed to sit up properly. Asterisk sigh. Damn, I haven't felt this weak in a long while. Even when I suffered from the nanotech corrosion after fighting against the flying frag Ant Queen wasn't as bad as this. She thought with a sigh. Just as she was about to close her eyes, she caught sight of Nantion opening the door. Morning, Shiro called out with a smile, since she still remembered how he had carried her delicately during her short moments of consciousness. Morning. Damn, you really know how to worry someone, huh? Both your sister and cousin have barely been able to sleep the past few days. Nantion smiled softly and pulled a chair next to her bed. How long was I out for? Shiro asked. A full week. If you want, I can tell you everything that's happened. Nantion offered as Shiro nodded her head. Getting a general idea of what happened within the week she was out cold would be quite helpful. 0. Listening to Nantion explain what had happened along with her party assisting her from the other side with the help of his subordinate, Shiro couldn't help but feel grateful. Thank you. To be honest, I don't even know how I can repay you. If you hadn't called for your healers and used so many precious items on me, I think I would have died. Shiro smiled softly. Surprised at her honest expression, Nantion felt his heart skip quite a few beats as he didn't know how to reply for a moment. What? When did the great Nantion become at a loss for words? Shiro chuckled after seeing his dumbstruck face without his mask. Well, I was just taken back for a moment. Nantion shook his head and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Oh right, did you find out who caused all of this? Shiro asked as Nantion's face immediately became cold. Yeah, she said it was something to do with a test, but what you had to go through was much harder than what can be classified as a test. If you want, I can go kill her for you right now. Nantion offered as Shiro shook her head. Sounds to me like you've caught her. She replied. Not quite caught, but rather, she followed us willingly. Nantion sighed as a portal opened up in the room. Walking out of the portal, Estrella immediately bowed towards Shiro. Raising her eyebrows, Shiro was surprised to see the culprit was actually a spirit, and she was even the spirit guardian of the realms. A spirit, huh? I thought you were supposed to welcome the queen. Shiro asked with a chuckle since she could sense a great deal of sadness radiating from the woman. I didn't want the spirit race to be led by a weak queen once again. Estrella replied after a short pause. I get that, but considering the upcoming age, isn't what you're doing quite counterproductive? The spirit race would be in a tough spot without a queen. Shiro shook her head. I was foolish and I understand that now. Please, if it is enough to quell your anger, you may take my life. Estrella bit her bottom lip and prostrated in front of Shiro. Huh. I can barely even lift up my hands right now. What makes you think that I have the strength to kill you? Shiro sighed. Hearing about her injuries once more, Estrella stayed silent from guilt. After all, she was the one who caused all of this. Since you followed us on your own accord, can I presume that you don't have any hostile intentions? Shiro asked. I, Estrella, spirit guardian of the realms and former member of the Royal Spirit Council, pledge my undying loyalty to you, my empress. Should you want my life, I will give you my life. Should you tell me to face an army alone, I will risk my life to come out victorious. Estella replied. Former member of the Royal Spirit Council, huh? Tell me, what made you think that giving me a level 120, a test that involved facing a level 350, was a good idea? Not to mention, the damn snake was in actuality a level 500 to begin with? If you were on the Royal Spirit Council previously, shouldn't you be assisting me instead? What made you do all of this? Shiro asked while glancing inside her mana realm. She was going to listen to Estrella's reply first before waking up Nimue and Azul to see if they could provide her with more information. I was afraid of history repeating itself. As one of the oldest spirits alive, I have served 4 generations worth of spirit queens. Each of them died before they could truly discover their power due to the threat of other races. Each time, I would place my hopes in the next queen. However, the last queen was the one that made me give up. Just as she was about to reach a class, she was attacked by one of the other queens. The Dragon Queen, to be exact. With a level difference of 200, the Dragon Queen tortured the Spirit Queen in front of me while I was unable to help her at all. Estrella replied after a short pause. Even now, she felt guilty due to the fact that she couldn't do anything when her own queen was being killed in front of her. She could still remember the pain and anguish in her queen's eyes before she died. And so, you thought it was a good idea to test me using someone 200 levels above me. Shiro furrowed her brows. Yes. Sigh. I'm speechless. Shiro sighed while trying to massage her eyes, but realized that she could barely lift her arms. You need help? Nantian asked after seeing her try to lift her arm. I'll be fine. Shiro replied awkwardly since the image of Nantian massaging her eyes for her was quite strange in her mind. Anyways, I understand that you don't want the same to happen to the next queen, but killing them in the test is not the best option that you can go with. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that you're a spirit, I would have just told Nantian to kill you if I couldn't do it with my own hands. Shiro admitted as Estrella stayed silent. Ran. However, I have 2 spirits with me, one of which might know who you are, but I'm not sure. Depending on how they react, I'll decide what to do with you, I guess. Shiro shrugged. Since Estrella had basically killed her once, Shiro wouldn't trust this spirit fully. If she turned out to be someone useful, she'll be willing to go for a one-sided vow like the one that Nimue had used when they first met. A vow of the soul that basically has Estrella give up her freedom and serve Shiro wholeheartedly. Nodding her head, Estrella sat by the side and waited for her punishment. Seems like you're awake. Oh, you were watching? Shiro asked as she focused inside her mana realm and saw Nimue and Azul waiting beside a sleeping Addie. Yeah, not for long though. Nimue nodded. In that case, then do you know this spirit? Shiro asked. A little, but I'm not familiar. Like she said, I only know her due to the fact that she was in the Royal Spirit Council. Nimue shrugged. What about you, Azul? Nimue said that you were one of the most prestigious spirits. Do you know about her? Her name rings a bell, but I'm not too sure. My memory is a bit hazy after the incident in Muriel after all. Azul shook her head as Shiro nodded. Maybe bringing you out would be a little better. Raising up her hand with some difficulty, Shiro managed to let Nimue and Azul out before dropping her hand back onto the bed. Do you recognize these 2? Shiro asked while glancing towards Estrella. Looking up, Estrella widened her eyes in surprise. Lady Azul, she called out in surprise. You know her? Shiro asked. Yes, I do. She was also part of the council, but went missing a while ago. It was during the time when I just started to serve the previous queen after her ascension. But how come she's so weak now? Estrella furrowed her brows. None of your business. Shiro cut in immediately. I apologize. Estrella quickly bowed as she was asking too much. For all she knew, she was going to offer her life up to Shiro as a sacrifice, so there wasn't much point to knowing new information. What I want to ask is if I can trust you when you say that you'd lay your life down for me. Shiro asked with narrowed eyes. Despite her weakened condition, Estrella felt tiny in front of this woman as her presence alone felt like it could crush her. Yes, my life is yours for the taking. Estrella nodded her head. Then vow with your soul on the line. You will do as I say and serve me without hiding anything. If my life is in danger, your body will be my shield. If I die, your soul will perish along with my death. Should you betray me or harm me, your soul will be sent to eternal torment. This is the only way I'm allowing you to make up for your mistake. Shiro ordered as Estrella nodded her head. Since she was prepared for death, a vow like this didn't matter to her. Hell, the fact that the queen allowed her to be of use to her was a great boon to Estrella. I vow under my soul to serve my empress with everything on the line. I will do everything as she says. If her life is in danger, my body will be her shield. If she needs to kill anyone, even myself, I will be her sword. I offer my freedom to become my empress' servant. Should I betray her, my soul shall be sent to eternal torment. Estrella vowed. Suddenly, an illusionary figure of Estrella appeared with golden chains now wrapped around her body and neck, symbolizing her connection to Shiro. Flinching slightly from the pain, Estrella held her breath and waited for the ritual to end. Once her illusionary figure faded away, she sighed in relief. You can stay inside your realm for now and wait for further instructions. Is there a way for me to call for you if you're not around me? I would like to have some privacy. Shiro asked. Nodding her head, Estrella waved her hands and crafted an orb of sorts. Speak my name into this, and I will arrive by your side. In the meantime, I'll make sure I'm far enough so that I don't hear your conversations. Estrella handed orb to Shiro and bowed one last time before disappearing from her spot. Seeing that Estrella had left the room, Shiro sighed in relief. Well, that's one problem resolved for now, I guess. She muttered before turning to Nimue and Azul. So, do you know what's happening in my mana realm? When I was checking on you, I tried to ignore what the F***ck was happening, but it's clearly something bad. Shiro asked as her smile twitched slightly. Previously, when she was glancing inside her mana realm, she could briefly see some of the islands flicker in and out of existence at certain points, which worried her quite a bit. Yeah, about that. You see, remember how you modified your body for a moment and fused all of your elements into one? Nimue asked while massaging her head. Yeah. Well, when you did that, all of the islands within your realm started to break apart. If not for your quick recovery, I'm afraid your entire mana realm would have been demolished, and you would have lost all access to mana. Thankfully, your body was kept in a decent shape, so your mana realm is safe. Though it's going to be like this until you recover, I guess. Nimue replied as Shiro nodded her head slowly. I see. Well, I suppose I don't have to gather pills to rebuild my links, so that's a silver lining, I guess. Shiro chuckled before turning to Nantion. I'm guessing you have a few questions as well, don't you? She asked. I do. However, I won't pressure you for the answers. I trust you, and I know that if you wanted to hide it, it was most likely something people weren't meant to know about. Nantion smiled as Shiro paused. In that case, then I'll tell you the entire story at a later date. I'm guessing you've already made the connection between me and the rogue assassin, though, huh? Shiro laughed as Nantion only rubbed the bridge of his nose. You do that quite a lot, huh? Shiro said after noticing this little habit of his. Emin, maybe it's because I get nervous around you. Nantion admitted. Oh, why would the great Nantion be nervous around someone like me? Shiro asked with a chuckle. If she could still move her body at this moment, she would have sat up and crossed her legs with interest. Who wouldn't be nervous around a girl he likes? Anyways, do you want any breakfast? He asked as Shiro chuckled. Sure. Are you going to bring it here, or shall I grab a wheelchair? Shiro asked with a smile. I'll bring it here. Nantion replied while standing up. Watching him walk out of the room, Shiro turned towards Nimue and Azul. Was Addie startled? She asked. Most definitely. You don't know how worried he was when he watched you struggle on the verge of death. Nimue sighed. I see. I'll try not to be so reckless next time. Shiro apologized. Well, hopefully there isn't a next time. With Estrella around, She should be able to help you isolate any dangerous beings that you come across should they be too high-leveled. Nimue shrugged. It would circumflex in. MN. By the way, are you able to help me grab my phone? I want to give the party a call since I can't exactly message them. Shiro asked while summoning her phone out of her inventory. Sure. Nodding her head, Nimue navigated through the phone and found a list of contacts within the party section. So who do you want me to call? She asked. Why don't we go with a conference call, so that everyone can be in it? Shiro suggested before instructing Nimue on how to set the call up. After a short moment, the rhythmic sounds of a call being made could be heard as Shiro swallowed her saliva nervously. Shiro, Lyrica's voice could be heard from the phone. Hey, it's been a while, huh? Shiro replied awkwardly as Nimue instantly facepalmed. What do you mean, hey? It's been a while, huh? You're the one who called them? She thought while rolling her eyes. Giving Nimue a quick death glare, Shiro focused her attention back on the call. Shiro, are you all right? We know that you almost died, so what happened? Sylvia's worried voice followed up as Shiro chuckled. Well, I had a small accident. You call that a small accident? Considering how much pain Ian and Lysandra were in, I'd say it was a rather catastrophic accident. Did you fight a level 500 or something? Madison asked as Shiro fell silent. Oh my King God, you did fight against a level 500, didn't you? Madison paused. Well, it used to be a level 500. Then it was weakened to 350. Shiro replied while understanding the ridiculousness of the situation. But I'm alive, aren't I? Also, thank you for helping me. If it wasn't for all of your efforts in editing the contract with Ian and Lysandra, I would have died for sure. Shiro smiled softly. Heiss, we can't take this much pressure, okay? Finding out that one of our precious friends almost died across the world with her 2 daughters being the only way we could tell was not fun. Madison sighed as Shiro nodded her head. Though, I suppose you weren't wrong either. We're still too weak now, and if we were with you, perhaps one of us would have died against whatever you were fighting. You don't need to hurry back, but just so you know, we'll keep trying to catch up even if it seems futile. At least with us continuously leveling up, we can lessen your worries. Madison followed up. Hearing what she had said, Shiro couldn't help but smile softly. MN, I look forward to that. Also, I don't hear Ian or Lysandra. How are they? She asked. Those two? They're just resting for now. Don't worry though, they'll be back in fighting form soon. The woman who edited the contract reverted it back to what it was so that you don't have to keep linking vitality. After all, it would be awkward if you suddenly felt a punch land on your body while you're walking. Lyrica replied as Shiro sighed in relief. That's good. Oh right, Shiro. Sylvia called out. MN, are you able to turn on your camera? I want to see the degree of damage with my own 2 eyes. Sure. There aren't any injuries visible, but my body is pretty weak right now. I can barely move my body. Shiro replied while Nimue tapped the camera icon. Seeing Shiro stuck in a bed while someone else held the camera for her, the party couldn't help but feel a sting in their hearts. Heiss, look after yourself, okay? Lyrica sighed. Don't worry, I will. Plus, Nantion's helping me, so I should be fine until I recover. Shiro chuckled. Speaking of that man, are you able to put him on the phone? I want to talk to him, but I don't have his number. Lyrica asked as Shiro nodded. Sure. Nimue, can you pass my phone to Nantion? Shiro asked as Nimue nodded her head. Of course. Walking out of the room, Nimue saw Nantion approaching with a tray of food. Nantion, Lyrica wants to talk to you. MN? Shiro's friend? Sure, let me just put this down. Nantion nodded and put the tray down on the table before taking the phone. Hello. Are you alone right now? Lyrica asked as Nantion excused himself for a moment. I am now. What is it that you want to talk to me about? You're high level, right? Tell me why the F***ck Shiro almost died in your presence. Lyrica questioned with a serious face. I have no excuses. I should have tried to get to her with everything I had before she was reduced to that state. Nantion nodded while clenching his fist in anger. While he was angry with Estrella, he was more angry with himself as he should have done something to help her regardless of the outcome. At least she wouldn't be this weak had he helped. Shiro still needs you, so you better look after her, or God help me, I will peel your skin like a King banana. Lyrica warned. Looking back towards Shiro's room, Nantion smiled for a moment before looking back at her. Don't worry, I know. Even if I have to risk my life, I'll make sure she is safe. She's a woman we both fell in love with after all. Looking at Nan Tian with a twitching smile, Shiro tried her best to point towards what he was holding. Is that a wheelchair? She asked as he nodded his head. This way I can help you move around for now, since you're injured. Nan Tian smiled. I can see that, and I appreciate the thought. But please, can you tell me why it's King pink? Shiro gestured at the pink wheelchair with flowers decorating the handle and wheels. What? I think it's pretty cute. Plus, you said that you were delicate, right? I thought delicate women would like flowers. Nan Tian chuckled as Nimue nodded her head from within Shiro's mana realm. Don't join him, Shiro retorted while trying to massage her eyes once more only to fail. PFT, my empress, I'd say you accept this gentleman's gift. He's quite caring after all. Nimue laughed as Shiro felt a vein burst. I can't even disguise myself since using mana hurts like F***CK right now. Shiro grumbled in her mind as she could only relent to Nan Tian's shenanigans. Just so you know, I'm keeping a note of this. The moment I recover, you better watch your ass. Shiro narrowed her eyes while begrudgingly accepting the flowery wheelchair. Haha, I'll keep that in mind. Do you want me to help you onto the wheelchair? Nan Tian chuckled as Shiro nodded slowly after a moment. Seeing this, Nan Tian's smile grew wider as he gently carried her into a princess carry before laying her down on the chair. Currently, Shiro was in a simple white one-piece dress that Nimue had helped her put on. Paired with her embarrassed face and flowery wheelchair, she almost looked like a pure maiden. If you're ignoring her murderous gaze, of course. Since we've already gone this far, why don't you put this on too? Make it a good commemorative picture. Nan Tian chuckled while presenting her a headband that had a white flower attached on the side. Heis, just hand it over. Shiro grumbled while trying to raise her hand. I'll put it on for you. Nan Tian laughed before carefully placing it on her head. Pulling back her hair a little, he stepped back and nodded in satisfaction. Say cheese, he grinned. Huh? Wait King Mom dash. Snap. Hearing the snap that signified her shame, Shiro could only sigh and tilt her head back. While her face seemed serene, her mind was not. His is mine, she shouted out in her mind. Making sure that the picture was in high quality, Nan Tian sent a copy to Lyrica, who only replied with a thumbs-up emoji. Chuckling softly, he put his phone away and started to push Shiro's wheelchair. So where do you want to go? He asked. Just a stroll around this city, I guess. Speaking of which, where are we? Shiro asked. We're in the city of Ichisver. To put it simply, it's closer to Mount Everest. Nan Tian replied while opening the door. But before we do anything else, I want to ask you something. I'm guessing you want to ask about my decision with Estrella, right? Shiro looked back. Yes. Normally, you should be pretty livid, no? After all, she almost killed you. So why did you give her a chance to serve you? Well, first of all, look at my current state. I can't kill her even if I wanted to. She can kill herself, but that would only be a waste since I'm not torturing. Second, I am King livid right now. But the fact that Yuki is still in danger makes Estrella a good asset for me. If the Duan bastard shows up, Estrella can at least guarantee that she can buy a bit of time if anything. Her mastery over realms is especially helpful. All in all, her uses as an asset far outweigh the satisfaction of killing or torturing her. Shiro shook her head. Nigerian Iriov. So in the end, it's for Yuki again now? Pretty much. Our main goal is to save her after all. Plus, with the new age coming up, having a few level 500s with me is pretty beneficial. I'd be stupid if I killed her right here and now without thinking about the future. If I did that, I'd just be reducing my chances of success. Shiro shrugged to the best of her abilities. I see. How kind of you. Nan Tian smiled. I wouldn't say kind since I'm still using Estrella like a meat shield. Shiro shook her head. Seeing this, Nan Tian only chuckled since she was similar to how Tsundere would act at times. Pushing her wheelchair out of the apartment room carefully, Nan Tian thought about where they should visit first. Do you want to have a look at the auction house? Maybe you can find something that you need in there, he suggested as Shiro nodded after a moment of thought. Sure. Though to be honest, I'm only really lacking something with my Boris rebirth pill. I still have 3 items in my inventory that can help me for quite a while, 2 of which are used on my weapon and armor. Shiro replied. She still had her soul weapon upgrade and soulbound armor upgrade that she hadn't used yet. Thinking about these two, she figured that she should probably look for Helion once she rescues Yuki. That way, she could get another boost to her equipment. There was still the mysterious third cast of Ina that she hadn't figured out yet. The second cast boosted 50% of her highest stat into raw power for 30 seconds, which was extremely helpful considering the fact that she had 5.8 million points in her INT. 11.6 if you included her monster title. Oh right, you mentioned that Keiko and Kiyomi barely had any sleep. How are they now? Shiro asked. Don't worry, I've already told them that you're awake now and that they can rest easy. They're just catching up on the sleep that they're lacking. Nantion replied as Shiro nodded her head. That's good. I don't want them to be damaging their own health, Shiro replied as she checked to see if Addy was awake. Seeing that he was awake, she brought him out from the mana realm and placed him on her lap. Want to go explore the city with me? Shiro asked with a smile. Tilting his head for a moment, Addy nodded before shifting himself so that he was comfortable on her lap. Seeing Addy sit on Shiro's lap so comfortably, Nantion couldn't help but feel a little envious. Why the hell are you even envious of a child for? I can practically feel your jealousy from here. Shiro glanced back as her smile twitched a little. Asterisk cough. I don't know what you're on about. Anyways, let's go to the auction house now. Nantion looked away while grabbing his mask from his inventory. Placing it over his face, he started to push Shiro towards the auction house. While they were making their way through the city, Shiro could feel countless eyes on her as they were rather curious about her identity. Feeling a little embarrassed due to her wheelchair along with the hairband, Shiro hid her face behind Addy's body while Nantion laughed at her embarrassed face. Oi, don't laugh. Shiro warned with a hushed whisper. Right, I won't laugh. Nantion replied, but Shiro could tell that he had a smug grin on the other side of that mask. As if I'd believe you. Shiro shook her head. Arriving at the auction house, Nantion showed them an emblem which made him an instant VIP, and they were allowed to browse all of the wares available at this current time. Looking through the catalog, Shiro furrowed her brows when they weren't anything that caught her eyes. Naturally, she expected this. Unlike other adventurers, she didn't need to worry about weapons or armor due to her current equipment along with her class. Checking the materials, she picked out one or two that Helion might like and bought them using her own money. Nantion did offer to buy it for her, but Shiro refused. He did just save her life after using the best medicine in his vault after all. Once she was finished with the auction house, they proceeded to explore the other shops in Ichisver. After relaxing outside for most of the day, they returned back to the apartment in time to see Keiko and Kiyomi wake up. Despite her injured condition, Shiro still wanted to make some progress towards Mount Everest, so they started to plan their next course of action. What the F*** CK? Keiko paused after seeing Shiro wheelchair and headband. Don't question it. Let's just talk about our next steps, okay? Shiro sighed as Nantion pushed her inside the apartment. Looking at each other for a moment, both Keiko and Kiyomi shrugged their shoulders since they've seen weirder things happen around Shiro before. Sitting around the table, the duo waited for Shiro to start. First things first, I just want to put it out there that I plan to resume the journey straight away. I know my current state is not optimal, but if I rest near Mount Everest, I could recover while also being ready to rescue Yuki. Shiro said as both Keiko and Kiyomi had worried expressions. Seeing this, Shiro only chuckled. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. There should probably be a village or something I can rest at near Mount Everest, right? It's not like I'll be staying in the middle of an enemy camp. I get that, but considering how dangerous the situation could be, it would probably be best for you to travel after recovering. Kiyomi shook her head. But if we're near the area, we can keep an eye on Mount Everest and check to see if there are any activities. What if Yuki can't wait that long? Shiro replied. Yes, but it doesn't have to be you now, does it? If anything, I can go scout out the situation since I'm an assassin. I'll give you regular reports until you recover and come to me. How's that? Keiko suggested as Shiro furrowed her brows. You do make a valid point. Shiro nodded her head reluctantly. Actually, I have someone better in mind to do the scouting. She smiled after pausing for a short moment. Oh, who's that? Keiko asked. Estrella, the spirit that I've recently acquired. As you know, her prowess with different dimensions is quite powerful. I can get her to scout for us, since she can escape easily. Not only that, she might be able to bypass the barrier without notifying Bastard Duan. Shiro smiled. Wait AF asterisk King Minute what? Keiko stood up. Yup, you heard correctly. Estrella is now my subordinate. Shiro said calmly. You know she tried to kill you, right? Keiko frowned. Yes, but her power is helpful. It would be a waste to just dispose of her. Trust me, I've got it covered. Shiro chuckled. Furrowing her brows for a moment, Keiko reluctantly nodded her head and sat down. While Shiro may seem playful, she never played around with anyone that may threaten her life. Since she decided to suggest Estrella for this mission, it means that she had something in mind. I trust your decision, but my main question is, can we trust the spirit? Keiko asked with a frown. Well, she's essentially signed a vow to become my property in a way. If I'm about to die, she'll be my meat shield. She's trustworthy to an extent. Plus, with the vow that she signed, she cannot betray me or her soul will be erased before she could even succeed. Shiro shrugged lightly. I still don't like it. I know she's probably very helpful, but I don't like the idea of trusting the rescue of our friend to someone that almost killed you. Though I suppose there is some guarantee due to this vow of yours. Kiyomi sighed. However, if you're going to let her do the mission, let me go with her so that I can double-check the validity of the information. She followed up. Okay, in that case, then how about this? Let's all go with you and Estrella acting as the Vanguard Scouts. Me, Kiyomi, and Nantian will stay roughly one village away so that we can react in time should anything happen. That way, I can recover while also staying near Mount Everest. Shiro suggested with a smile. That's fine. Let's go with that then. But you must be far enough so that you won't be dragged into a fight should it start before your recovery finishes. Keiko ordered. Perfect, let's get ready to move then. Shiro chuckled since this is what she wanted to begin with. As Keiko and Kiyomi prepared to leave the apartment, Shiro had Nantian escort her to the balcony for now, so that she could look at the city while they got ready. Nodding his head, Nantian pushed her wheelchair to the balcony. So, do you know how long it'll take for you to recover? Nimue asked from within her mana realm. I have no idea. In the time that I was exploring the city with Nantian and Addie, I had already scanned my body, and I have to say, I'm basically in a vegetative state. If not for the fact that I can see parts of my body slowly healing at a snail's pace, I would have thought that I'd be disabled for life. So while I have no idea on how long it'll take for me to heal, I know that there is a guaranteed chance for me to recover. Shiro replied, MN, you're really pushing the limit here with your excursion to Mount Everest. You haven't even started the rescue process and you've already been injured to this extent. And despite all of this, you still want to continue the journey. If anything, I must praise your tenacity. Nimue chuckled. Well, I am pretty proud of it. After all, if I wasn't tenacious, I wouldn't have survived the experiments on my body. Shiro replied with a smile. True. Speaking of your Snowmancer class, what's the strongest weapon you can make right now? Nimue asked curiously. Once again, I have no idea. With my database full of blueprints and the experiments I had been doing a while ago, I'm able to spend a bit of time to combine them with my second class to form a powerful weapon that hasn't been made before. However, thinking of this, I see another problem. Shiro sighed. And what's that problem? The problem is that to improve past the previous peak that I had reached, I need to focus more on how to redesign the nanobots themselves. As described in one of the nanobot research books that I had found, I'd need to find a way to make the nanobots more compact and efficient. But with all the things going on, I haven't really had the time to focus on this task. And even if I did, it might take years to develop. I don't know if it's possible to achieve this, so I might as well focus on the Empress class so that I can improve my chances in the coming age. Shiro shook her head. Perhaps you need a different approach in order to achieve this? I'm not a scientist, so I can't say for sure, but Snowmancer is a mix of science and magic, right? You've been so focused on science so far, so maybe what you need is more understanding in the magic side of things. Now that you've gotten your memory about your time as Kuromi, you might be able to use her magic knowledge to find a way to fuse both your classes together to make powerful weaponry. Nimue encouraged. Haha, don't worry. Just because I said I don't know if improving is possible doesn't mean I have given up. I'm focusing on my Empress class right now so that I can learn more about this class and the magic I have access to. Once I'm able to master this class, I'll be able to fuse the two classes together. Who knows? Maybe I'd be able to form a class with a higher rank than EX, Shiro replied with a grin. Look at your grin. Sometimes I wonder why I even worry about you. Nimue sighed. Oh, don't be like that. You worrying about me urges me on, you know? Having someone to support your back is always a good feeling, hence why I've got your back too. Once the queens arrive, I'll make sure to keep an eye out for the ones that were responsible for enslaving the spirit race. Shiro chuckled. Hearing this, Nimue's lips curved into a smile. Make sure you don't kill yourself in the process, though. Of course. And just for you, I'll even give them my best torture treatment. One that will make them wish they never stepped foot into this world. Shiro narrowed her eyes. With her improved control over her nanobots, keeping someone alive while torturing them to the limit is easily done. Hell, she might even start to dabble in soul magic so that she could torture their soul in the process. While everyone else was packing up, Shiro noted down a few torture ideas cheerfully since she needed to be prepared for the future. After a short moment, they were finally ready to resume their journey. Nantion and Kiyomi were responsible for looking after Shiro while Keiko and Estrella would scout out the road ahead. Their next stop, the village of Kyuan, a rather small village located not too far from Mount Everest. Leaving the city of Ichisfer, the party positioned themselves with Estrella and Keiko at the front. Shiro and Nantion were at the back while Kiyomi was in the middle. That way, they could take advantage of Estrella's skill set to keep danger at bay, allowing them to travel safely even if they used mana. With this, it only took them a short 2 days to reach the village of Kyuan. Within these 2 days, Nantion had a constant rotation of healers visiting them to check up on Shiro and assisting her recovery when possible. On the first day, they noticed that her body was recovering rapidly whenever she was exposed to sunlight. Realizing that it must be because of her angelic and phoenix bloodline, Shiro suggested that they take a route that exposed her to the sun more often to speed up her recovery. Naturally, the party agreed, as the faster she recovered, the better it was for them. As for the checkup on the second day, the healer explained that Shiro had basically repaired her body by 15%. If she's given a few more days and spent most of them under the sun, she'll be healed quite quickly. Joking about the fact that Shiro's essentially a plant right now, healing through sunlight, the party continued their way to Kyuan. In addition to the checkups, Shiro also made sure to make some calls to the party so that she could see how they were doing along. During the call, Shiro learned about how both Lysandra and Ian had fully recovered and were challenging dungeons again. TCH, look at that. My daughters are having fun without me while I'm stuck here in a wheelchair. Shiro complained while hugging Addie. Due to her 15% recovery, she was able to move her body quite easily, but still couldn't walk for long distances. Unfortunately, she was still stuck in her wheelchair for now. While considering the speed of your recovery, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to start killing things again real quick. You're not missing out on much. Nantion chuckled. I know that, but it's still annoying, okay? Shiro pouted while looking through her phone at any news that she might have missed out on during the time she had been injured. Seeing her pouting face, Nantion had an extreme urge to just poke her cheek. However, he knew that doing so would just be suicidal. He didn't want to push his luck too much. After all, he needed to be alive in order to woo Shiro. Reading through the news, Shiro furrowed her brows when she saw one that was featured not too long ago. Nantion. Shiro called out. Yes? What is it? You said that the third monster was a dragon, right? What about it? Would the dragon happen to be the same one in this picture? Holding up the phone above her head, Shiro showed him the picture. Looking at the image that featured a slightly blurry dragon figure in the distance while being wounded by rays of light, Nantion furrowed his brows before nodding. It seems like it. Most of the features on the body match the dragon in my memories, though there is also the chance that it could be a different dragon that looks similar, because someone's managed to kill it. Roughly around the same time that I fought against the Gorgon, the dragon was killed and the battlefield was quite shocking. Large burnt craters and destroyed mountains were common near the area. Hell, they even had to redraw quite a bit of the map due to the fight. Shiro furrowed her brows while swiping to the next pictures. For some reason, every time she looked at the images of the attacks, they reminded her of something, but she couldn't quite put her tongue to it. She had even tried to match the image to her database, but all she found were things that are similar. Shaking her head, She dismissed the thought before checking on some more news. Seems like all three of the powerhouse monsters are gone now. You killed the Gorgon while the other killed the dragon. The only one left, Estrella the spirit, is now your subordinate. Without a leader, the monsters around the area will probably get a bit rowdy, so the martial hero will have a hard time. Nantian said while Shiro was browsing through the news. "R.O. Epsilon. To be honest, I pity him a little. He must take care of an entire country despite not being the leader. You think he's ever allowed a break?" Shiro asked. "Probably. But due to his personality, I don't think he'll take that break. Instead, he'd probably use that time to see what else he can do." Nantian replied as Shiro couldn't help but agree. "In a way, you're kind of like him. You need to rest more and do some of your hobbies too, you know? The only time you rest is when you're suffering from injuries like now. To be honest, outside of making juice, I don't even know what other hobbies that you have." Nimue shrugged. "Well, I do enjoy playing around with the flute. But yeah, I haven't really had time to rest, have I? Though, with what's going to be happening in the future, taking a break isn't exactly high on my to-do list." Shiro shook her head. "It should be. You can't save a world if your body is breaking down due to overwork. Tell me what you can kill in your current state." Nimue raised her eyebrows as Shiro averted her gaze. "I suppose you're right about that too," she admitted. "See? So instead of thinking about what you can do in Q1, just spend the time resting with Nantian and calling the party. Give yourself a small break while your body is resting. Hell, maybe even rest some more after you recover. With Estrella and Keiko scouting out the situation, it gives you a perfect chance to rest. But if I do that, I'll be delaying Yuki's rescue. And you know I can't do that." Shiro furrowed her brows. "To be fair, you're right. I suppose what I want to say is that you should find every chance to rest because God knows once the new age comes, you'll be so busy that rest will become a myth." Nimue chuckled. "Don't worry, I know." Shiro smiled before focusing back on her phone. Soon, they arrived in Q1. The village itself was quite developed in terms of architecture, but it wasn't to the point where it could be called a town. It wasn't too far, though. From a brief glance, Shiro immediately noticed a lack of the Adventurers Guild, which should have been a common sight. There was, however, a local blacksmith and pharmacy. I suppose building a guild in every small village and town would be a tall order. Having blacksmiths and pharmacists is much easier to accomplish with the local workforce. Shiro thought to herself while they made their way to the closest inn. Renting some rooms for a few days, they decided to have some food first before they discuss anything else. Sitting down at the table in the inn, their presence garnered quite a few eyes due to the fact that they were unfamiliar to those in the village. "You lot are a set of unfamiliar faces." The waitress greeted with a smile before pulling out a notepad. "Anything you want to order?" she asked. Noting down their orders, the waitress gave the notepad to the chef before walking back to the group. "If you don't mind, can you tell me a little about where you're from? We don't get a lot of new faces, so I'm quite curious." She smiled. "Of course, that's fine with everyone else, right?" Shiro turned to the party. "I'm fine with it." Both Keiko and Kiyomi nodded their heads while Nantian did the same. Gesturing for the woman to sit down, they started to tell a few stories about what they did in the cities. The cities sound quite overwhelming, don't they? The waitress chuckled. "A little." Shiro smiled. "If you don't mind me asking, why have you come to our village? After all, you're from a big city, so I don't see a need for you to come down here. No offense, of course." "None taken. We're just here to look for a friend. Anyways, is there anything you can tell us about the surrounding area?" Shiro asked. Since they're waiting for food, she might as well make some small talk. "Of course. If you walk for a few hours to the east of the village, there's a pretty nice waterfall there where you can relax for a while. Normally, I would tell you about the places to the west and the north, but they're a bit dangerous recently. The waterfall's probably the only safe place you can visit without any worries." The waitress sighed. "Oh, why is it dangerous?" Shiro furrowed her brows since the next village is to the north, and after that is Mount Everest. If it's dangerous, it would be best that they found out now. Well, quite a few people have gone missing in the north and the west. Local lumberjacks and pharmacists that have gone out in those directions were never seen again. We've sent out quite a few search parties, but there were no signs of them. The waitress whispered over. "I see. Do you think it could be monsters or bandits?" Shiro asked. "I don't know. There haven't really been any cases of bandits or monsters near this village in the past, so most of us just believe it to be a strange dungeon or something. Hence why we've already sent out a request for the hero to take a look at this. I heard that he should be arriving soon, so it's best if you stray away from those areas for now and wait for his arrival. The waitress shook her head. Fair point. Just out of curiosity, when did this happen? Shiro asked. Before the waitress could reply, she was called by the kitchen. Sorry, I need to get back to work. She apologized as Shiro smiled. Don't worry, but thank you for the reminder. I'll keep a note on avoiding the north and the west. Watching the waitress walk away, Shiro glanced towards the rest of the party. Seems like we'll need to get a quick glimpse of this before heading to Mount Everest. Shiro whispered as they nodded their heads. We'll discuss this in our room once we have our meals. She followed up with a smile. After eating the meal, they promptly went to their new rooms. Estrella, Shiro called out. Beside her, a portal opened up as the spirit walked through with a calm expression. You called, my queen? She asked with a bow. Before going to Mount Everest, I want you to go investigate things to the south of this village. At the first sign of danger, I want you to report back. We need information as soon as possible. Shiro ordered as Estrella nodded her head. Understood. Fading into the portal, Estrella left the room. As for you, Keiko, would it be okay if you scout out the north? Just get a general view of the situation and make sure you're not in any danger. Of course, but with how the waitress describes people going missing and the chance of a strange dungeon, do you think it could be the frozen Imperial Mountains? After all, it wasn't a naturally formed dungeon, so there's always the chance that it could mutate. Keiko shrugged. Honestly, I would have wanted to investigate myself if I could. Hell, maybe even use my drones, but with only 15% of my body recovered, I can barely make a dagger right now since my links would just hurt if I try anything harder. Shiro smiled tiredly while waving her hand. Creating a small dagger, she twirled it for a short moment before dismissing it. During the 2 days that they had been traveling, the party told Shiro about what they had seen but didn't question it too much. Understanding that they're respecting her privacy, Shiro didn't mind showing them some basics of her class without explaining. After all, they've already seen her create her Gatling cannon that dealt some decent damage to the Gorgon, so a dagger wasn't too surprising. Don't worry about it. It's not like we're fighting anyways. The scouting should be done pretty quickly. Keiko smiled before walking out of the room. Talking for a little longer, Shiro got herself out of the wheelchair and sat on the bed. Sighing softly, she couldn't believe that the simple action of moving from point A to point B would actually tire her out this much. Seems like you dislike this weakened state. Nantion chuckled. No sh*t. Who would like it, huh? Shiro rolled her eyes. True, but still, stacking berserk skills. Even after a few days, I still have to applaud how reckless you were to do that. Though that recklessness also saved you since it gave you the power to fight against the Gorgon. Nantion shook his head. Well, I won't disagree with the fact that it was reckless. There was probably more than one way to approach that situation with my skill set. If not for you being around, I would have been a goner. Shiro replied while scratching her cheeks, feeling a little embarrassed. After all, she had an entire lifetime's worth of experience with her class. She could have easily defeated the Gorgon if she only used 1 or 2 of her berserk skills and some careful thinking. But no, in the end, she decided to not only modify her body in the heat of battle, but also stack all of her elements on top of her berserk skills. The result being one that could be called a complete overkill, which had her rip out the Gorgon's code. Even now, such a feat was still ridiculous in Shiro's opinion. So thank you for helping me out. Shiro followed up while glancing towards Nantion, who had taken off his mask at this point. You're welcome. You can't rule out your friend's help either. Of course. But tell me, who's this Qinlan subordinate of yours? How did she even edit this contract that I hadn't even heard of before? Shiro asked curiously. I suppose it's okay for you to know her true background. You see, most of the people in the sect know her as a contract expert and a doctor in some form. However, her family is actually closely tied with the sect master. They have a history of crafting some of the strongest contracts in the world, and her grandfather was rumored to have forcefully contracted several peak tier 5 monsters to act as his bodyguards. Nantion replied. But I've never heard of such a family in China though. If her family is that impressive, why does the hero need to work so hard? Shiro furrowed her brows. Because her family doesn't originate from China. They changed their name and appearance so that migration could be easier for them. Her real family name is Victoria, and you may know her older sister as Rachel Victoria, the healing hero that runs the Lumia's Blessing faction. Huh? Why did they even migrate to China if they are a family that produced a hero? Shiro raised her eyebrows. It's a long story. If you want, I can tell it to you as a bedtime story. Nantian chuckled. Boy, you want a punch? Shiro asked with a smile. PFT, at this point, your punches are love taps. By all means, I'd like to receive some love from you. Nantian joked as Shiro wanted to flip a table into his face. Welcome to my world. I've already ran out of imaginary tables to throw at you, so I don't bother anymore. Nimue chuckled, seeing that Shiro felt the same feeling she had a while ago. Shush it. When did I do something that made you want to throw a table? Shiro pouted. Are you sure you want to be asking that question? Because I will, and I can, list out how many imaginary tables that I had thrown within time that I had been with you. Nimue smiled. Asterisk cough. I'll be fine. Shiro averted her gaze and focused back to reality. So, what's the final verdict? Nantian smiled. I would like to hear this bedtime story. Shiro squeezed out through gritted teeth. Seeing her expression, Nantian chuckled as he found it quite cute. However, Nimue, who realized what he was thinking, couldn't help but shake her head. His taste is pretty *King strong if he thinks a murderous gaze is cute. Wait a minute, is he a masochist? Why else would he want to woo Shiro despite knowing her habits of going for the ass? Nimue paused before feeling some pity for Shiro. After all, she wasn't too good with masochists. Her threats of penetration would backfire if Nantian turned out to be an M. Unfortunately for Shiro, Nimue enjoyed the show she was seeing, so she wasn't about to end the movie just yet by telling her about this. Hee, this is for all the times you made me want to flip a table. Nimue giggled while Azul couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion. On one side, there was Shiro, who was thinking of ways to get back at Nantian in the form of penetration, while on the other side, there was Nimue, who was giggling to herself randomly. Addie, let's go play on a different island. Your mum and auntie are acting strange today. Azul suggested as Addie only nodded his head. Shiro, you'd think it had actually been a year. You holding out fine? We haven't talked in this realm for quite a while now, huh? Rayleigh, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You're not going to harm me for that now, are you? Shiro, I'll let you off this time since it's a pretty special occasion. 1 year, huh? It's quite a long time. Rayleigh, indeed. I never expected it to last this long. Shiro, I see. So explain to me, why is it that despite a year passing in real life, why the *CK am I not a year old yet in my world? Rayleigh, I thought you were going to be kind today. Shiro, I said I was going to let you off due to the lack of mini chaps, but I never mentioned anything about letting you off for everything else. Plus, now that I think about it, you're also partially responsible for Nantian's actions now, aren't you? Asterisk cough. No, I'm not. I promise. Nantian, to be fair, I am trying to woo you. Shiro, shut up and go back to the corner. I got a bone to pick with Rayleigh, not you. I'll be dealing with your ass after I dealt with this idiot author first. Nantian, yes, Empress. I'll be in the corner now, Empress. Rayleigh, oijai. Bastard Tian, get back here. Nantian, sorry, my Empress is my everything. You know this. Now if you don't mind me, I got a corner to go to. It's surprisingly interesting now that I think about it. Shiro, Rayleigh, you can't run anymore. It's the anniversary, so you can't end this so soon. Rayleigh, look, it's your spirits. Nimue, we're in the flying *CKMI. Azul, I had no clue. Where's Addie? Addie. Shiro, Nimue, take Azul in the corner with Addie and cover his eyes and ears. I don't want him to see what I'm about to do to this idiot author of ours. Rayleigh, think about the children. Our 18 is BA. Shiro, don't give me that *T. I'm pretty sure our readers are excited for this. You've been enjoying throwing quite a few cliffs here and there, huh? Now that I think about it, you even King killed my big sister, you see and T. Rayleigh, she's not dead completely. Shiro, I wanted her by my side, you moron. Rayleigh, take her back then. Kuromi. You know, despite being slightly different, me and Lil Sis are basically the same person, right? She gets your ass, and I'll help you bid goodbye to any future generations of you that could have been a reality. Rayleigh, F***CK. Shiro, if you dare take her away, I will end you right here and now. Gulp. Rayleigh, fine. Kuromi, fu, at least you're smart. Anyways, where's little Addy? I need to go era him up. Shiro, the F***CK does that mean? Kuromi, basically. I'm going to pamper the SH**T out of him. See ya. Shiro, finally, it's you and me now. Or are you going to throw more people at me? It's going to get quite cramped in here, you know. Rayleigh, PFT, I can expand, you know. Oh, would you look at that? We've got some visitors. Madison, okay. I know I've been here more than once, but please tell me why the F***CK is there so many people huddled up in the corner while a black-haired Shiro is going. Era? I in Epsilon. Lyrica, I think it's his doing. Madison, oh, it's the stupid author again. Shiro, have you got this in the bag? Shiro, yup. Madison, cool. I'll go talk to the other Shiro for a bit. Don't hurt him too bad. Otherwise, he might stop writing. Shiro, don't worry. If he stops, I'll poke his ass. If he stops for 2 days, I'll poke his ass 4 times. 3 days equal to 6 pokes, and so on. Rayleigh, oi, I think I'll be dead by day 2. Shiro, you'll be fine. Did you know you can fit a raccoon up your ass? I'm sure an ice spike or 2 is fine for a few days. Rayleigh, why do you know about that? Shiro, the better question is why you searched that up. Rayleigh, reasons. Here, take more characters. Sylvia/Chinyu, huh? I thought we were in our room. Shiro, well, the idiot author brought you here. Go hang out with your branch master before you have an existential crisis, okay? You'll forget about this soon enough, so just enjoy it while it lasts. Chinyu, right. Anyways, why is the branch master studying the corner? Shiro, reasons. Now go. Rayleigh, take more. Isaac, Shiro, piss off. Isaac leaves with a face of ecstasy. Rayleigh, yeah? Emma, just move him out of my sacred domain. Shiro, good choice. But if you're going to throw characters in here, where are my precious daughters? Rayleigh, right. Here, take them. Okay, there are way too many people in that corner. What the F***CK? How is this even possible? Lysandra. Shiro, don't question it, darling. Just go hang out with your sister while I deal with the author. Right, whatever. Let's go, Lisa. Lysandra, sure. Shiro, I think we're only missing Aram now. Rayleigh, I'm not bringing her in here. I'm pretty sure she'll try to disembowel me to find out more. Shiro, so you're not doing it? Fine. Estrella, you called? Rayleigh, pound and carrot %. How? Shiro, can you bring a few people in here with you? Aram and Helion. They look like this. Estrella, as you command. Rayleigh, how is this even possible? Shiro, you're the one who gave her power over realms, you know? Rayleigh, yeah, I know, but there's a Limi. Estrella, I've brought them for you. Aram, oh my, what is this place? Helion, my armor. I was halfway through forging. Estrella, I apologize, my empress told me to bring you, so I did. Aram, oh hey SH. How the FCK is there so many people in that corner? 1, 2, 3. Oh my King God, there are 11 people in that single corner. Helion, my armor. Shiro, it's a strange realm. Nantion should be able to give you a rundown of the situation in the corner, so just ask him. As for you, Helion, Rayleigh here will compensate you with some decent armor when you get back, so don't worry about it. Helion, fair enough. Aram, welp, I guess there are now 13 people in that corner. Honestly, how is the rest of this room spacious while there are 13 people in the corner? Shiro, think of it as a badly drawn cube, I suppose. Aram shrugs. Shiro, let's see. Who else? Rayleigh, please, my realm can only fit so many people, okay? Shiro, fine. I'll only bring 3 more people. First 2 are Keiko and Kiyomi. Estrella, done. Keiko, huh? Wasn't I doing some scouting? Kiyomi, I thought I was punching a sandbag. Why are we here? Shiro, Nantion will tell you about the situation. Just ask him over in that corner. Aram in the distance. That's 15 people in this one corner. Now what the F***CK is even going on right now? Shiro, you'll know soon. Anyways, the final person is Kane. I haven't seen her in a long time. Volume 3 is when we parted ways, I believe. Estrella, done. Kane, where? Shiro, ne. It's been so long, underscore. Shiro, there. Blame this idiot over here. I'll make sure we can reunite soon, okay? Kane, Mn, I believe you. Rayleigh, if you don't mind me saying, there are a sh*t ton of people here. Shiro, but there are still quite a few people I want to bring in, you know? Raoul, Bed Kid, Jonas, Sylvia's friend, Liam, Aram's brother, Natash, fellow elder in Winter's Grace, Lefer, Lyrica's brother, and Cyril, Lyrica's sister, just to name a few. There are still quite a few after this too. Rayleigh, oh my god, that's way too ma. Estrella, I've brought them. Rayleigh, $, and %. Shiro, go to the strange corner full of people to get a rundown on the situation. Rayleigh, I thought this was supposed to be an anniversary. What is even going on anymore? Shiro, oh just trust me, okay? Everyone ready? Everyone, apart from Rayleigh, yeah. Shiro, 3, 2, 1. Everyone, apart from Rayleigh, happy anniversary. Thank you for the support that you have shown us in the past year. Rayleigh, brings a tear to my eyes. Sniff. Shiro, oi, you're the main host. Say a line or two, okay? Rayleigh, right. As they said, thank you for your support in the past year. I know I've taken a few breaks here and there, but you guys and gals have shown so much support and it's kept me going. Please continue to support me in this next year as I continue to write this story. Shiro, good. Now that's out of the way, why don't you come quietly and spread him? Rayleigh, right then, where shall I start? Nintion asked. How about why she's split up with the faction then? With her older sister being the hero, surely they should have stayed in Britain, no? Shiro replied. Sure. In the beginning, back in the UK, Qinlan's family were quite passive in terms of combat. They would focus on healing along with keeping everyone safe. In order to defeat the monsters without actually focusing on combat-orientated classes, they started to study contracts and ways they could tame monsters. Eventually, after a few generations of research, Qinlan's grandfather had the biggest success when he proved that he could tame monsters and use them as bodyguards while making sure that the monsters didn't harm any humans in the process unless they were physically attacked. With this accomplishment, they were getting a little ahead of themselves as they started to expand and help more people. Naturally, their actions caused quite a few eyes to focus towards them. Several large factions that were spread across the world at that point were very curious about his talent at taming monsters, so they would send envoys to negotiate. With the old man's personality, these negotiations were naturally rejected as he didn't want this technique that his family had spent generations on perfecting to be used in war. While he was hopeful about the human's nature, he also knew how they would strive for war and total control. Nintion explained. Shiro had quite a few questions, but decided to be patient and listen to the end. As negotiations continued to fail, the factions started to become annoyed. With such a powerful weapon in his hand, the old man refused to hand it over for the good of humanity, making them traitors to the cause. Naturally, with his course of action, a war broke out and their family was scattered. Normally, you would think that the Victoria family would be able to put up a decent fight before losing, but that's wrong. It was completely one-sided in the Victoria family's favor. Within his armada of contracted beasts was a mythical beast much like your daughter, Ian. Nintion smiled. He had a beast similar to a phoenix? Shiro raised her eyebrows. Yes. Within his contracts, he had a hydra under his control. With the hydra's skill set of controlling the elements, it was basically an untouchable god in those times. Unfortunately, there was a traitor in his family. His son's eldest daughter had started to tamper with the contracts, making it so that the monsters would turn against the Hydra. This was ultimately what had led to the defeat of the Victoria family. There are quite a few theories on why Rachel had betrayed the Victoria family, but the family believes that Rachel had betrayed them due to personal greed and what the other factions had offered her. Nintion shrugged. I feel like there's more to this. Shiro frowned. Of course there is. If it was just greed and what the other family had offered her, I doubt she would turn her back to an easy victory. But here's my personal theory after doing a bit of research. The Hydra that the grandfather had made a contract with actually agreed on serving the family for a few generations, and the younger sister was apparently the next contractor. There were signs to point out that the older sister would always fidget or get nervous whenever people would talk about the future. I'm guessing that she somehow knew what was coming and wanted to be contracted with the Hydra herself to guarantee her safety. Nantian said while Shiro couldn't help but nod her head. It was indeed plausible if this was the cause. Making herself comfortable, she listened to his stories while keeping a note on anything that might be helpful in the future. As this was happening, Estrella immediately found out the problem after jumping through a few dimensions in order to shorten her travel time. From within her personal realm, she could see small splits and fissures in the air. Understanding that this was clearly the sign of unstable space, Estrella furrowed her brows and waved her hand. Inserting some of her mana into the splits, she managed to widen it just big enough so that she could peek through to see what's on the other side. However, the moment she peeked through, she immediately felt a presence surge for her location. Quickly backing away from the fissure, she returned it to its original state. Taking a deep breath, Estrella noticed that she had started to sweat from that short encounter. What could be on the other side of this fissure? She thought with a frown. Shaking her head, Estrella started to patrol the area so that she could figure out how large this foreign space was. With the fissures as nodes for her to guess the area, she realized the area of this foreign space was much bigger than what she had expected. Not only that, but it was also expanding with every second, so she needed to hurry back and tell Shiro this news. Furrowing her brows one more time with the fissure, she decided to create a small holographic bird of sorts before forcing it through the fissures. That way, she could establish a small area of influence within this realm for her to access at a later date. Jumping into her portal, she started to make her way back to the village. Not too long after she had left the area, a figure flickered to where she had tampered with the fissure and frowned. Strange. I didn't see a split being opened here. I suppose the technique is still relatively unexplored, so some mistakes are bound to happen. He shook his head and repaired the fissure. Looking around the area for a moment, the figure flickered away. Hashtag. That sounds pretty suspicious. Shiro furrowed her brows after hearing what Estrella had reported. Did you see anything past the fissure? She asked. I was barely able to get a glance before someone tried to track me down. However, I did catch a glimpse of snow, so the area in this foreign space is most definitely a cold environment. Estrella replied. This is indeed a problem. Has Keiko come back yet? Shiro turned towards Nantian since she was still hindered in terms of sensing the area with her mana. Not yet. I can't sense her within my range. Nantian shook his head as Shiro frowned. Estrella, go to the north and look for Keiko. If you find her, ask her to come back. If you don't within 30 minutes, come back and we'll form a search party. Shiro ordered. Nodding her head, Estrella immediately left the area. Do you think it's the frozen Imperial Mountains? Nantian asked. Most likely, though I've never heard of a dungeon expanding in size. The only scenario I can think of where it's slightly similar is when a mutated dungeon is not cleared on time and the monsters start spilling out into the cities. When that happens, they start to expand their territory and make a community of monsters which is hard to completely clear out. This was quite common in the early days, but once people started to get more powerful, these occurrences have become less common. Nantian replied. MN, but this is a man-made dungeon, so we can't use common logic. Unfortunately, one of my friends who had succeeded in making dungeons is no longer alive, so I can't ask her for any information. Shiro sighed. Well, it's not too much of a worry. Since it's still a dungeon in the end, there's a big possibility that it must adhere to some basic principles. We can use that as our guide. Nantian smiled. True. With the space expanding at the rate that Estrella had described, I'd say we have about 2 days worth of time before it reaches this village. Tomorrow, I'm planning to do some experiments so that I can recover faster. Shiro massaged her eyes while laying her body across the bed. Oh, your body is in no condition to be using mana often though. How are you going to experiment properly? Nantian asked with concern. You're going to help me. If you don't mind, of course. Shiro smiled while glancing towards him. It'll be my pleasure.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.